To start off, we have per my blended analysis of four advanced metrics combined into one. Sam Darnold is a tier 2 quarterback out of 5 tiers, and Matthew Stafford is a tier 3 quarterback out of 5 tiers as well. So Darnold gets the edge here for the Vikings, and I think that checks out. Part of this stat is just purely a passing efficiency based metric. And with that said, Puka Nakua has been hurt. The offensive line for the Rams has been really badly injured. There's been a lot of things that have gone wrong for the Rams this year, and it would make sense if that bled onto Matthew Stafford's success. Next, we have Justin Jefferson. You may have heard of this guy. He's pretty good. He is sixth in yards per route run, and he's going against Darius Williams, who is 68th in PFF coverage grade. He plays a low 23% of his coverage snaps in man coverage. It's not tremendously low. The average is about 26%, but it's low enough to be notable. And with that said, Williams is meh when he is in man coverage, as he has a 54 grade when in said coverage. So he is not particularly good at it. And that is really worrisome for the Rams defense if he ever has to play man coverage against Jefferson, because Jefferson has no weaknesses. I can tell you without stats that Jefferson is great at beating man coverage, and he's also great at beating zone coverage. Jefferson probably going to eat Williams alive. That is scary for the Rams. Another advantage for the Vikings is Jordan Addison, who is 49th in yards per route run, and he's going against Akello Witherspoon, who is 82nd in coverage grade for corners. Though Witherspoon is the prototypical corner, he's still not great in man coverage. He's actually worse than Williams is, as he has a poor 51 PFF grade. So that's not great, because Addison being 49th in yards per route run, I wish there was a way to directly connect these stats so I could say that Addison is 49th and Witherspoon is, X number. But there doesn't seem to be a way to do so, at least from what I've seen to this point. So we're just going to have to realize that, 51 is a low PFF grade. A good PFF grade for reference and man coverage is about 70, I would say. So he's a ways away from that. I would say average is probably about 60. Next, we have the running game. And this is where things get really boring. It's just a total snooze fest. The Vikings cannot run the ball, and the Rams cannot stop teams from running the ball. So it's a pretty fun matchup in that sense. We're going to move on to a matchup that is very exciting in the pass rushing aspect of the Vikings versus the Rams, where Jonathan Grenard, who is, I maintain, still one of the most underrated players in the league. He did just get a healthy contract from the Vikings in free agency, and he had an awesome year that I think a lot of people know of, but not enough do. Grenard was third in the league in pressures, that is, for all front seven players. And he's going against Alaric Jackson, who is 22nd in pass protection per PFF. So he's a solid player in his own right, but I trust Grenard to have a successful matchup against Jackson, because I just think Grenard is that dang good. He's really good as a run defender as well, and he can get after the passer with just great efficiency. So I like him quite a lot, And I think that he'll get some pressures against Alaric Jackson, even though Jackson is a really good player in his own right. Next, we have Andrew Van Ginkel, who has a funny name, and he is 38th in pressures amongst front seven players. And he's going against Rob Havenstein, who is 48th in pass blocking. I forgot to mention, Grenard gives the fourth advantage to the Vikings, so it's 4-0. And with that said, Van Ginkel gives the Vikings a fifth advantage, so it's 5-0. Havenstein is really more of a run blocker than he is a pass protector, but he's not a bad pass protector either. Being 48th amongst all tackles doesn't sound the greatest, but that's right and left tackles. There's at least 64 of them, so I mean, there's really like 96 at a minimum, because I would say every team has used at least one more tackle decently much. So he's like roughly average, I would say, maybe a little better than average when you really factor in everybody. And Van Ginkel is a bit better than that, though. So that's why the advantage goes to the Vikings. As we shift now to the Rams, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you like and subscribe, as I'll be pushing out more football content throughout the year and eventually NBA content as well. And with that said, the Rams start making headway right away. It seemed like it was going to be a runaway. The Vikings got 5 advantages, but this is more of an offensive matchup for both teams than it is defensive, and I promise you it gets close. So Puka Nacua is the first advantage for the Rams. I think you would realize that he's going to be an advantage when you hear this stat. He's first in yards per route run, and I believe he's pretty heavily in front of the second player. So it's really impressive what Nacua has done. He hasn't been healthy all year, but he is really good when he does play. So I trust him to be sensational again. He's going against Shaquille Griffin, and Griffin is 62nd in PFF coverage grade. Griffin plays a high percentage of man coverage, which is rare for the Vikes, as they don't really play a lot of man coverage for their corners, which is weird because they blitz a lot. And usually, if you blitz a lot, you play a lot of man coverage. But Brian Flores is a gangster and he does it his own way. Griffin, he plays 33%. He's good at it. He has a 64 grade in man coverage. He is a very solid player. He's not going to be able to slow down Puka Nacua, though, more than likely, because Nacua is one of the, I would say, probably 5 best receivers in the league. Don't entirely quote me on that. I might be missing some people, but the top 3 I think we can all agree on is Chase, Jefferson, and Nico Collins. But then I think Nacua is right there. Next, we have another advantage for the Rams, taking it from 5-0 just a minute ago to 5-2, giving them some life, with Tutu Atwell being 21st in yards per route run. He's going against Stephon Gilmore, who is 78th in rank for PFF coverage. So he's not doing great. Gilmore plays a low percentage of his snaps in man coverage. He plays 19%, and he has a poor performance there as a 46 grade. So that is not ideal. Griffin, he's 16 spots ahead of Gilmore in his rank, and he is much higher at 18 higher in grade in man coverage, playing 14% more, or 14 percentage points, I should say. Yes, I'm a nerd. I corrected myself there. Gilmore is just not having a great year. He's still a solid contributor, but he cannot man up like he used to. Lastly, for the receivers, Cooper Kupp is 35th in yards per route run, which is really good. That's, again, I don't think I said this actually before, so I should just say that is to say he's 35th amongst tight ends and wide receivers. So it's very good to be 35th. And he's going against Byron Murphy, who is 23rd in PFF rank for coverage. So that's pretty rough for Kupp. He's really good, but he's going against somebody that's even better than him. It's going to be a great matchup. I would love to just key into that one. I want to see Shaquille Griffin and Nakua most for the one-on-ones. But then I also want to see Kupp and Murphy at the same time. I want to just have my eyes in two different directions completely as I watch. Byron Murphy, he plays a low percentage of man, slightly low, at 23% of his snaps, and he has a solid 67 grade in man coverage, so he's a really good player all around. That's going to be another advantage for the Vikings. That takes it from 5-2 to 6-2, as you could imagine. But there is still some life in these pesky Rams, let me tell you. The next advantage is for the run game, and this one's going to go to the Vikings as well, as the Rams are 15th in rushing expected points added, so just about average. And the Vikings are first in run defense EPA. So they are as good as it gets. And that checks out. They have, again, just a great defensive mind in Brian Flores, who is more than capable of dialing up a scheme to stop basically any scheme, but especially stopping the run game with the run defenders he has. They don't have great defensive tackles, I wouldn't say, but Ivan Pace, Blake Cashman, that's a really good linebacker duo. Van Ginkel, great edge setter. Grenard, as I mentioned, great edge setter. They have the front seven really well established. And then Harrison Smith, even though he's 64 years old, he is still really physical in the run game and a good, just overall run defender. He plays pretty well in coverage too. I don't want to belittle that. So, with all that said, they have a lot of good players and they all mesh together pretty nicely. Byron Murphy Jr., he's also good in the run game. So, there's a lot to like for this run defense. So, it's 7-2 now. And you're thinking, well, the Vikings are just running away with it. No, because we get to the pressures for the Rams, and we're going to start off with Jared Verse, who is fourth in pressures, which is incredible for a rookie to be fourth against defensive tackles and edge rushers again. And he's going against Cam Robinson, who's 41st in pass blocking grade. So that gives the Rams a nice edge. That's 37 spots different. I would say that's a slight edge in favor of the Rams. Of course, I'm joking. It's a little bit more than slight. And this is one that is arguable. Kobe Turner, arguably the best defensive player for the Rams, is 27th in pressures for edge rushers, defensive tackles. He's going against the 36th best center pass protector in Garrett Bradbury. So that's a major edge. But the reason I don't consider this an advantage for the Rams is because he's also going to be double teamed more than likely by the 8th best guard pass protector in the league in Dalton Reisner. So that's going to make things difficult for Turner to get pressure. So I don't consider that an edge. But I do think that Turner is going to be able to cause some havoc still. And for the final matchup, We have Brandon Fisk, who is 35th amongst all players in pressures, and he's going against Blake Brandel rather, who is 50th in guard pass protection. And Brandel is just going to be in for a rough game because Fisk is really athletically juiced up. He's very fast for his size and he has great strength. He is super tough to go against. He's not maybe the most refined player yet, but he knows how to use his speed and strength well. So, with all of this said, that's the fourth advantage for the Rams. And that takes us to 7 advantages for the Vikings and 4 to the Rams. So it is a close matchup. It is, separated by 3 points, so you could see kind of where I'm getting at here. I am going to go with the Vikings. I think they are the better team. I like their completeness as a team a fair amount more than I do for the Rams because I just don't really love this Rams defense, even though they do have a good pass rush. But with that said, I'm going to go with the Vikings because I like their offense. I do like their defense. It's arguable which is better. And that's a great thing because it's really good on both sides. Those are my thoughts on the game. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comments section. And also be sure to like and subscribe for more football content.